Have you ever done a launch and been disappointed in the results that you got? Maybe you've looked at other launches and thought mine didn't look like that or doesn't seem as successful as that. In today's video, I am going to be sharing with you exactly what you can expect from your launches. My name's Teresa Heath-Wareing, and I have worked in the online space for about 10 years, and I've been in marketing for about 20. And during that time, I have worked with hundreds of online business owners, and I have helped them with their launches. And therefore, I have a proven track record of seeing what launches actually get. And over the time, I've built up lots and lots and lots of data so that I can tell you what is realistic. You see, I often see lots of business owners do launches and they come to me and say, that launch failed, it wasn't very good, it could have been better. And I then say to them, show me your numbers. And I look at their numbers and I go, actually, you were bang on. So, what I'm going to talk you through today is I'm going to talk you through what numbers you should be tracking, what you should be expecting, and what can have an effect on some of those numbers. And honestly, I geek out on this stuff. So let's start by talking about your email list. Now, your email list is always the number we start with. So, how many people are currently on your email list? Because what you're going to do when you go into the launch mode is you're going to promote your launch. So, your webinar, your challenge, your bootcamp, whatever it might be. And actually, for the example of this video, I am just going to use the word webinar, but intersperse that with whatever launch experience you're going to be using. You are going to send an email to your list and you're going to encourage them to join your launch. So, the percentage of people who will go from your email list to your launch list, so that's the number of people who sign up for your launch, is roughly between 15 and 30%. So, depending on how many you've got on your email list in the beginning, roughly between 15 and 30% will come onto your launch list. Then your launch list is the people who have signed up for your launch, and it's the people who have said, yes, I want to come to the webinar. But one of the key aspects of doing any launch is that we get them to engage in the launch. It is proven that the more they engage, whether they show up, they turn up, they do the things, the more likely it is that they will actually buy your thing because they're experiencing you and what you can do. And if they're not doing that, then they're not going to buy. So we really need to look at the next stat of the engagement stat. So how many people from that launch actually turn up and take part and engage in your experience? Like I said, in this example, we're going to say webinar. This is roughly between 20 and 40%. So it used to be higher than this. In COVID, it was kind of 50%, but actually it's dropped. And they can be quite low, and I have seen this coming down even further, but you can hope between 20 and 40%. Then we look at sales. So how many people actually bought the thing that you are selling? And the way we look at this is based off your launch list. That's the strongest indicator. And we take the percentage off your launch list, even though we track the engagement and we want to know the engagement because we know the better the engagement, the more likely they are to buy. We take the percentage off your launch list, and you can expect to take roughly or to sell to roughly 1 to 8% of that launch list. And I know that often when I give these figures, people are a bit like, is that it? But honestly, that's the truth. And when you are seeing the big launches online and the people sharing that they have had hundreds of people or thousands of people come into their program, they had a massive launch list or a massive list to begin with. So the percentages actually aren't different. The percentages are the same. It's more the fact of they had a much bigger list to begin with. So I want to turn this into actual numbers for you so you can get a really cool idea of, okay, what does this actually look like if I'm selling something? So let's imagine you are doing a launch where you are selling a product that's going to cost £997 or dollars. Let's say you have an email list of 1,000 people. Because what I want to address here, once I've given you these numbers, is actually, yes, you do need to build your email list because as you'll see, it has a direct effect on your numbers, but there is definitely ways that we can increase your success without increasing your email list to begin with. So we're going to choose the low end of the percentages, just so to give you an idea of what this might look like in reality. You have an email list of 1,000 people. Let's say you only get 15% of that email list sign up to your launch list. So sign up to say, yes, I want to come to your webinar, which means you get 150 people on that launch list. Then let's say only 20% of them turn up to your actual webinar. That means on your webinar, you have 30 people turn up live. And then let's say 2%, I didn't want to do one because it felt too sad, that 2% of your audience, of your launch list buy the thing, which means out of 150 people, 2% is between 1 and 2 people. So let's say you make 2 sales of a product that's £997. You then make £1,994 or dollars. Okay. Then let's run these numbers again, and we're going to run them again based on the higher percentage. So we're going to look at the same email list, but this time, what if we can increase those percentages? And this is something that I do when I work with people either in coaching or they come into my program, Grow, Launch, Sell. I look at their launch and I go, okay, how can we tweak and improve it? Because that's the other problem that I see all the time is that people do this launch, the results weren't what they wanted, and they go, that didn't work. The truth is, we might just need to tweak some things and it will make a big difference. So let's run those numbers again. So you've got an email list size of 1,000 people. We're not changing that. But let's say this time we get 30% to sign up to your launch list. So 30% of your email list go, yes, I want to come to that webinar, which now means you have 300 people on that launch list. And then let's say we do a really good job of encouraging them to come to the actual webinar and 40% turn up to the webinar. You've now got 120 people on the webinar. So from 30 last time, you've got 120 people this time. And then let's say we do a really good job of selling and we get 8% of that launch list to buy. That's 24 sales, which means you've now made on the same email list with the same cost product, £23,000 or dollars. You can see that there is a massive difference between someone basically doing a launch with the same email list for the same product at the same price, and then them tweaking that launch and making a big difference. I want to give you a couple of things that you could also track if you wanted to, but those are the essentials. So the other things that I would suggest you track if you can are things like landing page views. So how many people came to the landing page where you asked them to sign up to the launch and they didn't actually sign up to the launch? The other thing you could look at is how many people, let's say you're doing a challenge, how many people joined the group. You will see again a big difference between the number of people who sign up to a challenge or a boot camp and the number of people who actually join the group where you're holding that community. The other things you can look at is the landing or the sales page views. How many people went to your sales page but didn't actually complete? You could also look at things like how many people clicked on your emails and then didn't do anything with it. So there are lots of other stats that you can look at, and we tend to track a lot of stats in my business, but obviously this is what I do for a job. Let's talk about some of the things that you can do that will make a massive difference to your numbers or that will affect your percentages. Some of the things that will affect your percentages is the product that you're actually selling and the price point of the product you're selling. So for instance, in terms of the launch list, if you're doing a paid bootcamp, which I do a paid bootcamp, my launch list numbers are way down compared to if I was doing a free masterclass, let's say. So that can have an effect. Like I said, the number of people that actually buy, if it's a really high cost product, that percentage is going to come down. One thing that makes a huge difference, and again, I see it all the time, is people just not sending enough emails and not promoting it enough. So for instance, if you were to do a launch and you didn't think your results very good and you were to run the same launch exactly the same again, but you were just to increase your emails, you might find that that makes a difference, or you should find that makes a difference. So how many emails have you sent to actually get them to come to or sign up to the launch? How many emails do you then send once they're in your launch list to get them to turn up live? What incentive do you give them? I always give them an incentive to turn up live. What is the actual thing you're teaching them? So if you're promoting a launch and no one's signing up to that launch, then there's something potentially wrong with the launch you're doing. Either the title's not good enough, the description's not good enough, or it's just not something that your audience are interested in. So that can have an effect on it as well. Things like when you do the launch. I have done a launch in August. I don't recommend normally that people do launches in August. I was testing something out. Also, what time the webinar is or what time the challenge things are, that can make a big difference. So if you know that your audience are less engaged at a certain time or day, if you're dealing with parents, then I would probably avoid what would be tea time or bedtime. You need to think about that when you're putting together your launch, because this will have an effect. Again, your sales. So how you sell on your webinar or on your launch. There is so many things, and we could literally do video after video about how to sell during a launch, and we will do. But there are lots and lots of things that you can do that will have a massive effect on whether people sign up. How many emails you send, how you frame your sale, how you write your sales page, whether you offer sales calls, whether you are in your DMs, whether you're having conversations, all of that will make a massive difference. So the thing with a launch is it's not just do this thing and this is the result guaranteed. Not at all. It's like, I used to liken it to making a cake. If you put the wrong ingredient at the wrong time with the wrong amount or the wrong thing, you've basically screwed up your cake. If you put salt instead of sugar, that is not an edible cake. It's the same with launching. We need to look at what you've done and tweak it. But I really wanted to do this video. It's one of my most popular episodes of the podcast that I've ever done. And I think it's because it gives you a realistic view of what you can expect from a launch. And like I said, this isn't just me making up figures. This is me helping hundreds of people to launch in every different industry you can imagine and tracking their numbers and then looking at those numbers overall and seeing the kind of average sign-ups, turn-ups and sales that they get and working out those percentages based on that. I really hope this has helped. I really hope it's given you a much clearer idea of what you can expect. If you know someone that you think will get something from this video, I would love it if you could share it with them. And I will see you soon in another video.